Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to the channel, and guys, there is going to be a change to the channel. So we are going to be getting rid of race previews, and what we are going to be replacing race previews on the channel with is talking about topics that are relevant for the time or relevant to that circuit. And yeah, we just wanted to kind of change it up a little bit in terms of that front, and it's something that obviously we love kind of having discussions on the channel, and something that might have a little bit more longevity than just previewing and looking ahead to the weekend. And so today we start off with the first topic video, and obviously this weekend's race is Spa, and you can't talk about this weekend's race at Spa without obviously thinking about the tragic accident that happened in Formula 2 last year, where Anthoine Hubert sadly lost his life in a crash that also saw Juan Manuel Correa seriously injured as well, that he is still in the process of recovering and aiming for his racing comeback as things stand. So obviously, yeah, it was a weekend that kind of shook the F1 world, and we wanted to kind of take a look back now and look, well, as a consequence of things, what is kind of being put in place to make the sport safer as a consequence of obviously that tragic accident. So what are the kind of safety improvements that have come from last year's tragic accident, Steve?
So as the car changes have been pushed back to 2022, the main chassis changes originally 2021, they are improving the strength of the cars and also the impact absorption of the chassis at the front, lateral and rear of the car.
And it's good. I think what shook a lot of us, we hadn't experienced a death since Jules Bianchi in 2014, and before that it had been all the way back in 1994 with Ayrton Senna. So although there'd been massive improvements in safety and making things better for drivers, unfortunately the sport never is going to be truly safe. But it's good that they've kind of found a way of improving, and we have learned from the incident, because obviously we don't want another Anthoine Hubert ever, and it was a tragic sense of it. The FIA ruling and reporting from it was no one was at fault. There wasn't any driver, any team or anything that happened. It was just kind of a complicated set of sequences that, yeah, sadly led to Hubert's life passing and Juan Manuel Correa being injured from that. And the safety element of F1, I think it's a good point to talk about, because it has to be paramount, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It should always be the priority in F1, above all else, the safety of the drivers, spectators, staff, everyone.
Absolutely, and I think this is where we probably kind of go into, although this has been really positive from the FIA, and obviously crashes, that's the main kind of glaring, in-your-face type of, that needs to be safer, because everyone sees that. It's obvious, that's the obvious one you go to, an impact. But I suppose where we feel the FIA, just using a couple examples in recent times, have let the sport down in terms of safety, is been in terms of bringing cars in when their car hasn't been safe. And an example of that would be Charles Leclerc last year in Japan, when his front wing was no way, like the team and the FIA just didn't kind of bring him. There wasn't a black and orange flag, which I believe is the one to kind of call him in for an unsafe car, and a bit flew off his front wing and grazed the halo of Hamilton, and that could easily have struck Hamilton in the head.
Yeah, and at those kind of speeds, yeah.
Exactly, especially something that's a small impact as that. That is potentially life-threatening, and it was a really kind of poorly managed situation, and why that went along. And unfortunately, not to kind of dig in on Charles on this one as well, but it was also him in terms of he completed 2 laps at the most recent Spanish Grand Prix without wearing a seatbelt, and that is really worrying because there has been, the FIA just haven't spoken about it, have they?
No, they haven't touched on it at all publicly. So we're like, oh, so that's fine then? Because that's incredibly dangerous. Anything can happen, and if he's ejected from that car, again, serious injury or even the worst, fatal injury.
Obviously, you know, back in the early days of Formula One, drivers didn't want to wear seatbelts because the possibility of being trapped in a burning car was a far more horrific consequence than being thrown out of the car at top speed and chancing your luck that you're going to be okay from that. But that's horrendous. But with how far safety has come, and the fact that where he was right by the pit entrance, you know, so he had no excuse not to immediately go in. And, you know, you don't know what happens. A driver, he would have been annoyed because he was having a good race and he believed that he would have got P5 in that race. And, you know, he would have been pushing. What if he accidentally just pushed it a little bit too far? When you're pushing and driving beyond the limits, that's when the mistakes happen. And without that seatbelt, we could have seen a really kind of devastating accident with Charles Leclerc there, and it was really disappointing. And, you know, although, like we said, the positives of Hubert's crash is they focused on that and improving the cars themselves, they've also got to be harsh and reprimanding and protecting drivers from themselves as well, because they're ultra competitive, aren't they?
Yeah.
In terms of that. But we'll move away from those incidents and back onto Hubert and Correa. And obviously, yeah, it was sad that we lost a talent in Hubert. We don't know. A lot of people predicted he may have reached F1. You know, he was having a good rookie season within Formula One, winning the French Grand Prix and Monaco GP. I think it was the sprint races in both of those. But obviously, home Grand Prix for him, part of the Renault Academy. And we all know that Ricciardo left. Maybe it wouldn't have been Fernando Alonso going. Maybe it would have been Anthoine Hubert. But it's the ifs, buts and maybes, and he's a sad one. But the other driver in Juan Manuel Correa, who was driving for the Jerez team, and was part of the Sauber Academy. Yeah, he is still fighting and he's still going. He ended up being in a medically induced coma. He was told that if he wanted to race, it would be within 2 years. And it's now amazing that he now thinks that he may be possibly able to race. You don't know competitively or what level it would be, but near the kind of beginning of 2021, which would be incredible to see, I think.
It's a very quick recovery. Yeah, doing very well.
And he was massively ahead of schedule. I think around about the April time, he had started walking unassisted without crutches, which is amazing in his recovery because he turned down amputation was an option. He decided to go for the reconstructive surgery to give himself a chance. And he's spoken about, obviously, Billy Munger, who is a double amputee from a crash in British F4. He's the guy who kind of helped and inspired him going through, and he's a guy that obviously can understand. You know, there aren't many people who have massive crashes in motorsport and survive.
Exactly, yeah.
And so that's amazing. And I think if there can be a real positive, if Juan Manuel Correa can have a back, I don't think he's going to come back and escalate to the heights of Formula One. But if he can come back and have a successful racing career, or at least, be competing as a professional racing driver, I think that would be a brilliant comeback story from the situation.
Yeah, definitely.
It certainly would be. But, that's probably where we round off in terms of looking back. And it was, in the title of this, the darkest weekend in F1's 2019 season. And, it's something that shook. And I know there'll be people who are fans of Formula 2 and people there who will find it really tough to kind of watch the racing this weekend without Hubert coming to mind. And that feature race in particular, I think, will be particularly tough to kind of remember, you know, Anthoine and obviously his sad passing, and it was almost fitting that his childhood friend Charles Leclerc would go on and win that race in the Ferrari, his first ever F1 victory in almost memory of Anthoine. And I feel Pierre Gasly's performances are elevated. Obviously he was the closer one, roommates with Anthoine Hubert, and it shook them. And I think, you know, some good videos around it in terms of obviously the Drive to Survive and Chasing the Dream documentaries. They handled the episodes really well. Obviously emotional episodes, but handled the kind of topic of it very well of there. And obviously Chainbear, if you are new to the sport and confused by this and want it in a respectful way, Chainbear's video on the situation and what happened, and obviously we've spoken about what we can learn from it, improve safety wise. Go from there. But it'll be a tough weekend, but hopefully, you know, this is something we don't see in the sport again.
Yeah, hopefully we won't have to make another video of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one kind of wants to lose their life early, and no one wants to lose it doing something they love or something like a sport. No one should kind of lose their life doing these sorts of things. But that is it from us today, guys. And let us know, obviously, your thoughts of Anthoine and ahead of this weekend, how you're feeling. Go from there, and hopefully you've liked this new kind of start of something, which is the topic videos rather than a race preview. And let us know what your thoughts about that are in the comments down below. But anyway, guys, that is it from us. And if you're new around here or you do like the content we produce, what can they do, Stephen?
They can like, subscribe and ding that bell.
Ding that bell. But that's it from us today, guys. We hope you enjoy the racing action. And for now, you F1 fans, keep racing!